Welcome back, wizards and witches, fans of EZA. My name is Deb, and today my partner Professor Dumbledore and I will show you how CSS, known as cascading style sheets, was used to make EZA's website more gorgeous than ever. Take a seat and enjoy the show. First and foremost, the project requirements. In order for a developer or any computer geek to understand a website's code, it first must be readable. In this sample of two CSS syntaxes from a website CSS code, I indicated that I used an indent before the margin left property, since this property is nested under a main selector, which is HTML, body. This indentation helps the reader understand what's nested and what's not. I used white space before the third comment marker to separate one syntax from another. White space not only makes the code look less overwhelming and crowded to the reader, but it also makes it easier and quicker for the web browser to execute the code. In order to let the reader understand what each syntax and piece of code is for, I added comment markers. In the CSS code on the slide, I started the comment markers with a slash with an asterisk, and ended it with an asterisk and a slash. These starting and ending tags are indicated with red circles. As Dumbledore says, planning is necessary to become a powerful wizard. Likewise, I developed some plans in Google Drawings to help me plan out my website. Then, I downloaded the plans as .png files to submit on the Canvas website. Phase 1 plans include some changes for extra content and making the website aesthetically more pleasing for the viewer's eyes. Here's page 1 of the website. The home page. My actual website looks quite different from this since I changed the colors a bit and did a lot of major changes in phase 2. Here's page 2 of the website, which is the About Us page. Finally, here's page 3, the math section. Expelliarmus! Harry Potter's here, and he has come to help us plan some drastic, fantabulous changes to the CSS code of EZA's website. Now begins the phase 2 plans, where the major changes to CSS code happen. As before, the plans are made in Google Drawings and are submitted as .png files. First page, the home page. It has been revamped and now looks more subdued and professional, just like a wizard would want it to be like. Here's the plan for page 2, the About Us section. In the actual website, the 3D EZA below the paragraph wasn't added due to it not really fitting in with the professional theme of the website. Finally, here's page 3, the math section. This is drastically different from the actual website, because I had to change the plan a little bit to make the website look awesome. Yes, I have carefully read and followed all the project and rubric guidelines. Even Harry Potter says so. All of the plans have been submitted in .png format. I zipped my website code in one file called Nurture Website 2 to take up less space when someone downloads it. Basically, it compresses the files inside. In order for the website to function, one would have to unzip the files by extracting them to a user-specified location. The div tags help split up the code into different sections. Then I applied classes and IDs to each div block so that the CSS code would know which set of HTML elements it must affect. As shown here, I used the header opening and closing tags correctly to make different sized headers. As displayed in the sample, I used the image tag to help display an image. Also, an image tag is self-closing, so it does not need an extra closing tag. I have used opening and closing anchor tags correctly to help contain links to other pages or websites. I used OL opening and closing tags correctly to make an ordered list or a list with numbers. I used opening and closing UL tags accurately to make a list with bullet points. In order to make an item within the list, I had to use opening and closing LI tags correctly. I used alt text correctly for all my images. Alt text is used to tell visually impaired people what the image is by speaking it out loud. Also, when the image is unable to show up, the alt text is displayed. In order to contain my paragraphs from my website, I correctly used opening and closing P tags. An HTML document must have the basic layout tags shown in the slide. I used these tags accurately to set up the layout of my site. Doc type HTML tells the browser that the code will be written HTML5, the current HTML language. HTML_lang equals EN is the language attribute that declares English as the default language in the page and is where the HTML document officially begins. Head element tells the browser information about the web page that will not be shown to the user. The head element is closed by the /head tag. The body tag is where displayable content starts, and the /body closing tag is where the content ends. The /HTML tag is where the HTML code ends. I have separated my CSS descriptors from HTML code by using a separate style sheet for my CSS document. In CSS, classes and IDs are used to refer to elements in a linked HTML document. I used class selectors accurately to have particular CSS properties affect particular HTML elements. I used ID selectors correctly to do the same thing, although at a more specific level, for only referring to one element. Font attributes not only make the website look more stylish and glitzy, but it also shows which text should be emphasized. I'd correctly use the font attributes shown on the slide to achieve these purposes. Margins, padding, height, and width are all a part of the box model system shown in the blue diagram from Codecademy. Margin is the outermost gap outside the border. Padding is the gap between the border and the content area. Width and height are dimensions of the content area. I used all of these properties correctly in the CSS code. Just like Harry Potter loves being in the center, I centered my CSS content by setting the left and right margins at auto and the display at block. I used the float property correctly to control my HTML element positioning. I controlled colors on my page by using the color property with hex codes correctly. I used two font families on the website, namely Love You Like a Sister and Pre-Serif. Both these fonts came from Google Fonts. I controlled all my layout and styling with CSS code written in an external style sheet. I have made 3 awesome pages with lots of meaningful content. As shown here, I have used red arrows to demonstrate how I used a div block layout. As shown here, I have used 3 different header sizes, H1, H4, and H5. I have 2 images per page as per the rubric says. I have correctly made a drop-down navigation menu using hyperlinks and anchor tags sorted within div blocks. It is totally world class. It was a difficult task, but I was able to work through the challenge and make it a reality. This ordered list is ordered by numbers and is about future math content. This unordered list describes some upcoming math games. Trust me, you'll love them. These are 2 hyperlinks. The first one leads to a new tab because its target attribute is _blank. The other one leads to replacing an old tab because its target attribute is _self. In the example showed here, I used p elements to contain some paragraph text in the About Us section. In this project, I have learned a lot. Truly, a lot. For example, I learned how to use classes and IDs, position HTML elements, resize them, get new fonts, and even create world-class drop-down menus. I learned that sometimes I must use spaced repetition, which means practice over time, to get more fluent in CSS. Then, I'll be able to hone my CSS superpowers even better. This enhanced CSS superpower is what helped me create a semi-interactive math lesson on page 3 of my website, based on the basics I learned from Codecademy. I also learned that sometimes I had to switch between diffused and focused mode of learning to help me come up with solutions for my CSS bugs. For example, I had problems with arranging my drop-down menu. I then took some breaks, and then when I came back to work, the solution came to me. Overall, this project was quite fun, even though it's a bit mind-boggling at times. The next part of this video will display the actual site and its revamped functions.